we'll get to that when we get to, we'll have item, when we get to item B. Everybody ready up here? Okay. Make sure I get this going here. Okay, good evening, everybody. This is a special council meeting on the 27th. It is 5:30 evening. Going to call this meeting to order. And please, if you have any electronic devices, silence them or turn them off. And I'm going to ask everybody to stand up for a pledge of allegiance and remain standing for invocation by Councilmember Bogorlich. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing. Dear Lord, we ask that you look over us as we conduct our business for our city and our citizens. Guide us to serve our residents with cooperation and in the best interest of our community. Help us to work together to find common ground to issues that face our amazing city. Help us recognize opportunities, work through difficulties as we conduct the city's business. We ask that you keep us close to you and protect us from evil. We ask that you watch over those serving in our military and protecting our freedoms which you have blessed with us. This in your name we ask, amen.
Okay, as I said, the first order of business that's going to come up is items that are not on the agenda. If anybody wants to speak on any items that are not on the agenda, this is your time. Please fill out a form in the back and turn it into the city clerk. But given the quick appearance of this item on the agenda, if you would like to speak, please come forward to the microphone. You will have 3 minutes, and we need your name and address. Seeing no one wishing to address council on items not on the agenda, we are going to move on to council business. We have no items under council business. And we are going to go on to item 2A, new business. This is a first reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 22, Utilities in the Code of Ordinances. I believe Senior Planner Lori Lynn will present this to us.
Good evening, Lorraine Lynn, Community Development. This ordinance is in response to the Advanced Wireless Infrastructure Deployment Act, which will take effect July 1st. The legislation establishes process by which wireless providers may place certain small wireless facilities on, under, within, or adjacent to certain utility poles or wireless support structures within the public right-of-way. The Act stipulates that the jurisdiction may adopt an ordinance that is reasonable and non-discriminatory for registration, permitting, insurance, coverage, indemnification, performance bonds, security funds, abandonment, authority liability, or authority warranties. The proposed ordinance contains general conditions and requirements for review, and all communication facilities proposed for the city right-of-way, including small wireless facilities. The city engineer will take the lead on this, on administering this ordinance. It's going to be done through the right-of-way permitting procedure. However, the city's code does not currently have any right-of-way provisions, so the ordinance is set up in 2 divisions. The first division speaks to the general right-of-way permitting, and then the second division speaks to the wireless facilities. It should be noted that the Florida League of Cities and the Florida Association of Counties opposed this bill during the legislative session. They see it as an imposition into the jurisdiction's abilities to regulate their own right-of-way. With that, I we'll try and answer any questions. Kate is here, and she probably is familiar, and Charles is also familiar with the ordinance.
Great. Before we get to council member discussion on this, I will ask if there's any comments or questions from the general public, or is anyone who would like to speak on this item? Is there anyone who would like to speak on this item? Seeing none, we're going to move on to council member comments. Council. Any comments or discussion on this?
Quick question for Ms. Lynn. I remember this bill going through the legislature and the opposition to it, but here it is, it passed. So
That's right.
I did read where the city of Tampa is contemplating passing a ordinance to delay, to give them some time to evaluate what rights, if any, they have to control these things like along scenic or historic routes, Bayshore,
Yes.
Ybor City, that kind of thing.
That's
Is
right.
there any, are we comfortable that we've done the best we can under the legislation, or is there any benefit to us delaying this to try to preserve the areas around the river, the golf course, or anything like that?
Well, we did add a section to the ordinance to provide additional protection to our downtown area, as well as Telecom Park, because Telecom Park is a DRI that was adopted, back in the 80s, and it stipulates that utilities should be underground. So and the only above-ground utilities that are there are the street lamps. So, we felt that by adding that provision in here, in this ordinance, we would protect those two areas. But if, council has other areas that they'd like to consider, I'm sure we could.
Thank you. Councilmember Gorsuch.
Well, to piggyback off of what Mr. Ross said, what do we have in the current ordinance that protects our parks and riverfronts from this putting
Well-
stuff up there, I guess is the best way to say it?
There is a definition in there that excludes all other publicly owned property. So it says parks, libraries, whatever else that the city owns would be excluded. So the definition for right-of-way will only be the right-of-way in the streets that's used for a right-of-way.
But if the right-of-way goes right up to the river's edge, then somebody could put something up there based on this ordinance?
Well, we'll need to look at that language and make that determination.
I think Charles wants to address that.
Yeah, if I could address council with a couple things here. We've met with several of these wireless carriers, providers. I don't need council to get the impression that there's going to be 100 of these installed in town. These little wireless facilities are there to fill gaps, and that's all they're there for.
Today,
You've got one, I'm sorry.
today.
Well, today, again, the ordinance also, and the law provides that if in fact somebody wants to put these in, they've got to come talk with us first. And if there's a problem with their location, we can certainly renegotiate where they want to put it. This is one of those problematic kind of things that no one has really liked this law to begin with. But we've got several carriers. We've got one that's approached us with putting 3 in the ground, another with putting 1 in the ground, another with putting 2 in the ground. So I don't know that this is going to become a problem as you can certainly perceive it to be. I don't believe that's going to be an issue.
Again, today.
Well, yeah, today.
So
We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I
If,
mean,
if you, council, and everybody else has looked at this and said that there's enough protections in place, I personally don't think there are. I think Mr. Ross brought up a very good point. I think, I'm thinking of, if I remember right, there's a TICO easement that goes right up to the river's edge. What if somebody wanted to put something up there? It's not public, it's TICO. There doesn't seem to be anything in here that would stop that. And I think we should have things in there that should stop that if it's along the river or at a park or.
I don't know that we have the ability to stop that under the law. Again, this is why all these municipalities, we object, we wrote a letter.
I know it did.
I mean, and we sent them a picture, as a matter of fact, of something that we didn't care for.
Is there any harm in delaying this to the next meeting to have council look and see if there is anything we can do about that?
Well,
Or have you already done that?
We're bringing this up in a special meeting here this evening. We've got to get this before a second reading in a public hearing that will follow July 18th, if I'm not mistaken. But, you know, this law is taken into effect. We need to have something on the books
Yes.
moving forward, so that when people start bringing applications, then we have something to work off of.
Is there an
I-
opportunity between first reading and second reading to look into
We can-
additional ways to
we-
protect?
We can certainly look at specifics like that, absolutely. I mean, again, the second meeting is actually when you have public hearing anyway.
I think Cheryl had a comment.
But we need to get an ad into the paper in time, too. And the ad was gonna go in on Friday for the next meeting,
Okay.
so there was limited time.
But my point is, if we go ahead and approve first reading tonight, do we have an opportunity to tweak the ordinance if we find out that, yes, there is a way for us to protect
Yeah.
You know,
riversides and riverbanks and, you know,
This ordinance parallels what Plant City is passing.
okay?
And I know that Mr. Connolly has worked with Gray Robinson, who was instrumental in helping write Plant Cities.
Okay.
So that, I think that the ordinance meets the intent of the law. I don't know that it opens us up for a bunch of whole stuff that we're not hoping to get, okay? I know there's provisions in the statute that requires, or not, provides for us to somewhat control but not prohibit what we've got going on. So, somebody wants to put on the golf course, we're gonna have some serious discussion. Somebody wants to put one in the park, but again, the way that it's been explained to us, that, you know, this is not where we've got 100 poles going in the ground today.
Today, yeah, and that's my concern. is-
And I hate to qualify that by saying that, but, you know, we can say that about,
Well, let me ask you this, if someone, you know, someone comes to us and they want to put it in an undesirable location, do we have the powers to say, no, you can't put it there, but you can put it here?
Yes.
there's provisions in the law that provides us to be able to do that, yes.
And I also found the definition, if you'd like me to read
Yeah.
it.
Well, here.
Somewhat,
Yeah.
somewhat.
And I, you know, I take what Mr. Ross said to heart, because, you know, it's okay today, and then when we're not around, it's not okay. And, you know, I don't want to have to roll over my grave because of this. I would like us, obviously, we have to move forward based on what City Clerk said, but I'd like another review by council to see if, in fact, it's as tight as it can be.
I think our planner, the definition of the statements for right-of-way, which may give us some more clarity as to what the law specifically is saying.
Okay, it says, public rights of way shall not include county, state, or federal rights of way, property owned by any person other than the city, service entrances or driveways leading from the road or street onto adjoining property, or, except as described above, any real or personal property of the city, such as, but not limited to, city parks, buildings, fixtures, conduits, sewer lines, facilities, or other structures or improvements, regardless of whether they are situated in the public right-of-way.
Okay. It doesn't really give me warm fuzzies, but
Oh.
okay.
Well,
I just think another, you know, maybe just another look at it, just to be sure, because I just, you know,
You know, we can certainly do that and make you guys as comfortable as we can. I don't know that we're crazy about this.
Well, I know we
this new
can't stop
regulation.
it, but I think if there's, you know, if there's ways to tweak it a little bit so that we have as much control as we possibly can, then that's all we can do.
Point well made. We'll look into it a little bit further.
Are there any other comments from council, city clerk? Oh,
I have a comment from Councilmember
Thank you.
Donahue. to approve the first reading of the ordinance as corrected to reflect the rules imposed by the Florida legislature and signed into law by Governor Rick Scott.
And Councilwoman Donahue also sent an email pointing out that there was a discrepancy in the height between what we are proposing for the downtown and Telecom Park, which we had 15 feet, and the statute says 18 feet. So we had to make that adjustment from 15 to 18.
yeah.
Yep.
Thank you. So, City Attorney.
If I may, just for the record, I want to make it abundantly clear to council and to everybody in the audience that this ordinance, even though it may not get adopted until July 18th or a date thereafter if further amendments are made, it will be effective July 1st, 2017, to coincide with the effective date of the state legislation. And we have the ability to do that under the pending ordinance doctrine. So any applications that the city receives for these types of facilities within the right-of-way, they will have to comply with the regulations in this ordinance and not those in existence at the time of filing the application.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okey-doke. Seeing there are no other comments, I will ask for the clerk to read the title of the ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Temple Terrace, Florida relating to the use of and communication facilities in public rights-of-way, amending the City of Temple Terrace Code, creating a new Article 7, Chapter 22, Utilities of the Temple Terrace Code to be entitled Use of and Communications Facilities in Public Rights-of-Way, to include two divisions, providing findings and intent, providing definitions, providing requirements for issuance of rights-of-way use permits, registration of communication service providers, providing for rules and regulations for communication service providers, wireless service providers, and small wireless service providers in their facilities, providing for a duty to notify, providing for revocation and suspension, providing for termination, providing for appeals, providing for application of these rules to existing communications facilities in public rights-of-way, providing for insurance, providing for indemnification, providing for construction bond, providing for abandonment of a communications facility, providing for pass-through provider fees and fees for use of city utility poles, providing for reservation of rights and remedies, providing for this ordinance to control in the event of a conflict with other ordinances, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, if the ordinance is acceptable, I will entertain a motion to approve the ordinance on first reading.
Move to approve as read.
Motion to approve, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Gorlich. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the ordinance signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion is carried. It's been approved. The ordinance will appear for a second reading and public hearing on Tuesday, July 18th, 2017. The next item is item B, which is council discussion on the recommendation of the Temple Terrace Redevelopment Agency regarding this disposition of the submittal RFP. Prior to getting into council discussion, I'm going to ask if there are any comments or questions from the general public, if anyone would like to speak on this item. Yes? You have 3 minutes. Please state your name and address.
Allison Fernandez, 6601 Heatherton Court. I would like to just have you all answer a question that has been asked to me in a public forum so that the rest of the public will know. We all know that we have a desire for a certain style of downtown redevelopment, buildings, design, structure, activities. There's certain things that we've been trying to accomplish in that area. So the question has been posed, if we divide things up and plat and sell plats, how do we have a say over what actually is designed, not just the design structure, but the style of business that comes in? When we were talking about the redevelopment project as a whole, and working with the developer, we had certain uses we were looking to have there. How do we have a say in what types of businesses are placed there, not just the way the buildings look? if we go to a process of actually selling the property in increments versus going to one development project. So you don't have to answer it right now, but that's the question that was posed to me in various discussions out in the public.
Thank you. Do we have? Bill Martin? You
Bill
have-
Martin,
you have,
813
3 minutes,
Bannockburn.
name and address, please.
813 Bannockburn Avenue. And anytime I get to follow Councilwoman Fernandez, I feel very honored. First of all, been watching this for quite a while, and as you know, I'm involved in the development business and in the retail development business, and have been doing it for pretty much my whole life. Congratulations on getting the Cushman Wakefield people involved. They are one of the A-team guys in the broker. Number one, they have the bandwidth to get this out. They have the bandwidth to talk to anybody. One thing that this thing has struggled with, and you're still struggling with, it is hard to negotiate and implement a design and a development and a real estate deal under the state sunshine laws. Because everything comes up, has to be debated in public. So as he was saying before, everybody's got to show their hard cards. Frank's in the business, he knows before the deal is done. So one thing I'm going to preach to you tonight, probably my last time I'll preach about this, is have patience. And here's why. July is a dead month. When I was state president of NAIP, we didn't have any executive meetings. We didn't have anything going in July. It's just the dead month for our industry. So that said, the people, if they are interested, when they give you, they're going to wait to the final day for 2 reasons. Number one, that it's dead, and number 2, they're going to wait under the public to see what the other offers are. So if you're given a 30-day, it's probably going to be like dealing with Swift Mud. You're going to get your offers in at the 11th hour because they don't want to show their hand. The other important date is ICSC has a very big conference coming up in Orlando for retail, August 25th. That will be a good time, and I think Patrick will bear me out to really get this thing back out to the community, back out to the people that you want to do. So don't get discouraged if it's real slow in July, that next 30-day period, because it's going to hit the ICSC on August 25th, could really bring some new blood and get this thing, get the buzz back going on this. What we've got there is a very good palette. You can see by the stuff that's gone on around it. But we have to be patient with what's coming back. And after 13 years, lucky 13, I just advise you to be patient and let the market decide what's right for the property and the highest and best use. And don't try to dictate too much. As Allison said, keep it in the parameters, but don't dictate the market. Let the market tell you what fits best for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other comments from the public on this item? Seeing no one coming forward and having no other forms, then we'll turn this over to council for discussion. Council members.
I was just gonna make a motion. Unless
Go
somebody
ahead.
wants to discuss it.
Go ahead.
I'm all ready to go.
I just make a motion that we accept the recommendations of the CRA.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Yes, Mr. Frank, Councilmember Fleur.
Couple of comments I would like to make is, I believe, just to respond to a couple of the speakers, what Ms. Fernandez was alluding to, when the city decides that we are going to dispose of the property, submittals will be sent and there'll be public hearings for that. And at that point, like we did with Erickson and Florida Hospital, they're going to show us, they're going to tell us the use and the design. So that'll flush out at that point. We want to keep this, give it plenty of flexibility and keep it somewhat loose so it's not overly stringent and discourages people from wanting to, come to the table. Once you come to the table, then you can start rolling your sleeves up. I didn't know about what Mr. Martin just indicated, but I would just strongly urge that 30-day window, if we're going to meet on the 18th, don't close that 30-day window till at least a couple of days after the 25th of August. because if there's that kind of activity and buzz in Orlando, people are talking, it's close by, let's take a trip over to Temple Terrace, and that will generate some, this is, people from all over the country will be going to this. It won't be a small mom and pop event that just people in Orlando come to. That'll give you a ton of exposure at no cost. So just keep that in mind, that magic date, which I didn't know, and thank you for bringing that to us. And lastly, I just want to, I see there's people here that, a lot of people in our city always dedicate their time, and I see two people that served on the committee here, Mr. Prilly and Mr. McClellan, and I want to say thank you for giving up your time and having input into this process. Certainly, I appreciate the attention you've given it and being sincere and honest, but I just wanted to comment on those couple of things, sir.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. The motion is carried. The motion is carried. I don't see we have any other new business. We'll need, we have, next time on the agenda is other business. I will just ask one thing, because I know, for the city manager to clarify, because I know we all got an email today about River Hills Drive. If you just want to maybe update the public on what the process kind of is going on there right now.
We had originally scheduled the date for the demolition contractor to show up here this morning. We ran into a couple glitches, one with Tico not being able to get the transformer disconnected. We certainly don't want to start pulling on wire when it's in a transformer pad, is what it is. The contractor's also kind of been delayed getting off of his project that he's currently working on, but all indications are that we can probably get this thing started the 29th, which is Thursday, which is our new target date. So today.
Thanks for that update. Just I know we don't have a meeting on July 4th, the first Tuesday, that's the 4th of July parade. Do you want to give us any kind of update on what's going to go on with the parade or anything that quick since we won't be meeting for quite some time?
It'll be the best parade ever.
Awesome.
I invite everybody to come out, and we'll expect Cushman Wakefield to have a float, throwing out brochures. No, we've got a bunch of activities scheduled, just like we do typically every year. There's, I think everybody up here is in the parade as well, so we're looking for a good time. It ought to hopefully stay cool in the morning.
You just want to give us an update on times of the parade and times of the fireworks and festivities, so everyone,
Parade starts
since
at
we
10
won't meet
o'clock.
again. Thank you, Councilmember Chilora, for
10 o'clock in the morning. I think all the dignitaries are meeting at the rec center earlier than that, 9 o'clock, if I'm not mistaken. And then we've got the activities in the evening with the fireworks display out on the first fairway of the golf course, like we did last year. We encourage everybody to come out, be a good time. Dan Story, I believe, is playing out there again this year. Don't have to come out at 9 o'clock when the fireworks start. Come out early. Take your shoes off. Enjoy the grass. Fairway is great. Fairway's in great shape. So we're looking forward to seeing everybody out there, and we've got a whole list of people that are engaged in being in the parade. So we look forward to it.
And for those of you that have been in past parades, you know this already, but just a word of caution, if you haven't been to the parade yet, the police department starts closing off streets about an hour before that. So if you want to get a good parade route seat, you got to get out there by 9 and, bring some water with you so you don't dehydrate. But it's always fun. And I'll just tell you a real quick story on my first parade. I was driving in the back of the truck like I normally do, and everybody's yelling, "Pogo, Pogo, over here, throw me beads, Pogo." So I thought I was really cool, okay, because everybody knew my name. Then I remembered my name's plastered on the side of the truck, so it didn't matter. Then I started listening further, and everybody started yelling my daughter's name, and her name's not on the side of the truck. So she obviously was more popular than me. But come on out, it's always a good time. I think, like you said, every year it seems to get a little bit bigger, so looking forward to seeing everybody.
Okay, seeing no other business before council, I would like to thank everybody for their attendance here and being here this evening. Have a happy, good 4th of July, and we are adjourned. Thank you.